Hello, once again, everybody. I'm Mike Acosta. Welcome to Houston CityBeat Live. Tonight, I have Adam Greer on the program. Adam is an entrepreneur and author here in Houston and a Houston CityBeat community connector. Adam, welcome on into Houston CityBeat Live.
Hey, it's good to be here again tonight. Thank you for having me. I've been looking
Yeah,
forward to this. It's an exciting
yeah.
moment.
Now, Adam, we talked about a couple of the books. You're an author. You've written several books, and we talked about some of the humor books that you had previously on another episode. But you have another book that's out. It's called July 5th, The Day I Lived Twice. We have a picture of the book that we're going to show the cover of, and it is a 180 from the stories and the other books that you have, because it's probably the most personal event that you've ever experienced in your life. Adam is a heart transplant recipient, and on July 5th, 2022, he received a heart transplant. And we are talking about this today because April is National Donate Life Month. And it's something that's truly important to Adam and other donors who have received organ transplants in the past. Uh, April brings awareness for organ, eye, and tissue donation. It helps support. There are 100,000 people on the national wait list. Is that correct?
Yeah, 100,000 plus. Yes.
Yeah. So this month kind of it really honors the donors and it supports the recipients. So let's go back to July 5th, 2022, because that is the sole reason why you wrote this book. So tell me what happened on that day.
Well, going back is exactly 1,372 days ago. Is just to be clear.
So you actually keep count. I mean, this is you actually keep count of this.
These are all bonus days. I have to keep count, man. So
Yeah.
yeah. So, but quickly go back to that moment. I it was Fourth of July weekend, and I was hoping that weekend it's known as Harvest Weekend in the donation world, just because there's just so much going on that weekend usually, and so there was a good chance. I was told that from the start that I might get the call, and sure enough, I did on July 4th. I got the call that they had a heart for me. That was in the evening. So by the time we got started, it was actually the next day before everything began officially. But they started prepping on the 4th. So 4th of July is always now a good party weekend for me. I have this liberation all over the place. So
Yeah.
yeah, so I laying in the hospital. I've been in the hospital for about 7 weeks at that point. I was told when I entered the hospital that I wouldn't go home without a heart. I'd either go home in a bag or in a heart. So it was end of stage, and so every day was a day closer to death, honestly. And so I got that call. That's just you can't explain that. I don't know how to put it in words. I've tried. I'm sitting in my bed. The phone rings in the hospital room, and hi, and I would like to let you know that we've got a match for you. That's really how it went. You're just, you're shocked. You've anticipated it. You've lived for it. You're hoping for it. But when you get the call, it really is um, it's just a overwhelming experience. Exciting, scary, relief, all the emotions you can imagine. So the next call from there, I hung up and had to cry for a minute. I couldn't couldn't get myself together. Just sat there in my own room by myself, and my wife and everyone had gone home to celebrate 4th of July. So I was there by myself, and I had to call her and, hey, you gotta get back. They got one. I'm going in, and so that's what began July 5th, beginning of it. But that's a culmination of 17 years. I waited 17 years, knowing I would need a heart. So that's how it came to pass. So I was first told in 2005 that I would need a heart transplant. They thought then in 2005, but then through some medical, found the right doctor, got some stuff going, and they were able to extend my life obviously for 17 years, all knowing though that it's going to happen. That someday it
Yeah.
was going to run out. So
So what was there a condition that you had? Was it just something unique to you? Is it something that runs in your family? What led to you needing a new heart?
uh, sort of runs in my family. Stubbornness. runs,
Mm.
runs in my family. What it was, I had bronchial, sorry, viral cardiomyopathy. So I had bronchitis in 2005. Had it many times in my life. That wasn't an unusual thing. I just turned 40. You still think you're invincible.
Yeah.
Was fighting it off. Wouldn't go to the doctor. I'll get past it. Rub grass on it and keep going. And finally, after about a month, I couldn't shake it. So I told my wife I'm gonna go to the ER. I must have pneumonia. That's
Yeah.
really what I thought was going on. So she didn't come with me. It was just I just was sure I'll go to the ER, get some meds, be back in business. But once I got there, they ran some tests, and it wasn't a short time later that came in the room and said, "You don't have pneumonia. You're dying." And
Mm.
that's how they put out congestive heart failure. So the virus settled in my heart. So that's a word to anybody listening. Don't ignore. Don't just rub grass on and try to keep going. Take care of yourself. Viruses can attack organs in your body, and mine was the heart that it hit.
So
So,
this started out as a virus, and like you literally caught a cold.
then turned into bronchitis, and then it turned into killing my heart.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
really that's really something. So this was not something. There was no accident. You were healthy. You said you were about 40 years old, and
I mean, healthy as an out of shape 40-year-old can be, and wasn't taking care of myself. It didn't help that I was, I was already unhealthy just as a, just way overweight. I was sitting at about 360 pounds. It wasn't healthy, but I wasn't dying of anything. No, it wasn't.
Sure.
And
Now,
that's
did the
what
doctors
contributed.
say that had anything to do with the virus kind of spreading through the body and into the heart? That you were overweight or anything like that?
No, the weight didn't, but I wasn't taking care of myself. I just was not. I was just not in a good place in my own caring for my body, and so I wasn't strong enough to fight stuff off, I guess, and so it didn't contribute to it, but it didn't help it at any. No.
Yeah, yeah. So that's a long time, 17 years.
Yeah.
So when you're going about your day, and you're told in 2005 that you're going to need a new heart eventually, are you also just under the impression that it could end today?
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
do you approach every day? I mean, I know you said you're seeing every day right now as a bonus day. Is that the way you were seeing it? Is that the way you've seen life since you found that out in
It
'05?
wasn't the awareness I have today. No, obviously, it's a big moment of transplant, but I was aware that it was always someday it's going to happen. Someday it's going to happen. Just real quick, I was admitted to the hospital in '05, and they said I wasn't going home. I was sick. That was 3 months after the diagnosis. But this is in the book, the story of this moment.
Mm-hmm.
My cardiologist, I was at University Med Center in Albany, and so they brought in the head professor of the med center, Dr. Philbin, to come and do a consult. And so he consulted my cardiologist at the time, and I'm dying. That's all they said. You're dying. You're dying. We're gonna try to save you. Prepare for it. That's the language. That's all we were talking about. So he comes in, does his consultation. They all leave. Sometime later, probably an hour or so, he comes back in and said, "Hey, I'm not your cardiologist, but if I was, I'd save your life." I said, "Well, what does it take for you to be my cardiologist?" I mean, that was like a no-brainer moment, And so he went to work, became a cardiologist, and he had some ideas. He knew he was an expert in his field, and so within 2 weeks of being admitted, you need a transplant now, to releasing me. Um, there's a whole lot in between that story of how this all happened, but releases me and says, "Hey, your heart's damaged." They had put a defibrillator in, and I'm a heart. My heart was sick, and it was destroyed. But they said, "Go home and try to live, and let's just monitor you and see what happens." So that was September of '05 that they released me. By February of '06, they officially said, "Okay, you're just not even on a waiting list anymore, but someday, someday." So there was someday that was in your brain. So my heart was deficient. It wasn't high functioning, but I was actually living better and stronger than I was prior, because I was now taking care of my body. Got into exercise, started, losing weight, doing things. So I was getting healthier and stronger with a heart that wasn't going to survive. And
Yeah.
so the someday was out there, but it wasn't the everyday awareness. Then we moved to that was in New York, to South Carolina, and I was always working. I started a business in South Carolina. Everything was great. My kids were getting married, babies are coming. I mean, it's just life is moving on. And then we moved to Texas in 2011, and everything was. I was living large, very active, playing sports. Had two businesses now in Texas, and then in January of 2019, sorry, messing my dates up. October of 2019, I end up passing out while I was driving. I had tachycardia, and I crashed and destroyed a bunch of stuff and put my truck I drove right into an apartment complex and buried the truck in the living room. The defibrillator fired, which is the first time it had fired. So it saved my life. I actually died then, came back, the defibrillator worked. So they said, hey, it looks like this might be a sign that we're now heading in that direction. But they released me from the hospital again after a few days, adjust my meds, and I went living again, but right back to normal. Nothing, no delay. And so then in January of 22, I knew. I could tell my body was just, I could feel it. I was wearing out. I was now becoming I couldn't keep up at work. I was just struggling to just everyday stuff. And I knew this is it. Time's up. Tried to hide it from my family for a little while. It didn't take long for everybody to figure it out. And so then the crazy thing in it is, this is a part, it's in the book. A customer of mine, I knew he was a doctor. His name's Dr. Solomon. After the wreck, I was actually servicing his garage door, and we got talking about my wreck, and I told him what happened, and he's like, well, why did it happen? I said, I didn't know. My cardiologist at the time didn't really have an explanation. And he said, well, I'm a cardiologist, right? No, I didn't. He has several homes. I've been taking care of him for years, maintaining his garage doors, installing new garage doors. So he became my doctor. He said, if I was your doctor, I would have known exactly what happened. We could have fixed it. So I had the first doctor is like, if I'm your doctor, I'll save your life. And here comes Dr. Solomon. I'm your doctor. I can save your life again. It's a kind of crazy thing. And so I made him my doctor. And within a short time, boom, he was a big part of getting me into UC Methodist down here in Houston. I got on the transplant list, and I was admitted to the hospital in August of 22 permanently. That's when they said, look, this is it. And then I lived in the hospital for a total of 9 weeks, 2 weeks after transplant. And here I am, back working and living better than I've ever lived. So now the awareness, though, your question, before it was it's out there and yeah, you're aware of it, but you just go on living and you kind of forget about it, because I was living good. I was doing the things I wanted to do. And but now it's it's a stark difference. The day I live twice, the title of the book is on purpose, because you're there with your old life and they terminate that heart. That could be it. You go into that moment, the new heart doesn't start. That's it. There's no, they don't put you back on life support and keep you going. They can't.
Yeah.
Or other transplant situations, kidneys and stuff like that, if some reason it failed during the preparation, they actually could just keep you alive and wait for another donor. But with a heart, there's one last artery. When they cut that artery, that's it. You gotta live or you're done.
Yeah.
Go into it. So you go into it with this. You finish everything in life. You make sure you've said your goodbyes. You make sure, because you don't know. And then when you wake up and you're in recovery and there's your family, and man, just it's a crazy world, the transplant world. So.
Well, I don't want you to give away too much that might be in the book.
Yeah.
But if you could, I think a lot of people wonder, because you've been in a very unique situation that most people have never been in before at all. You're talking about that moment where they cut that artery, and you of course are under anesthesia, so you're not aware of it. But going into that moment, like you said, you say your goodbyes and you do that type of thing, and just in case, because you don't know how it's going to turn out. But what is the feeling that you had before they put you under, knowing that this was going to happen?
Yeah. So even before I went to the hospital, once I knew I was in trouble, I was at the end. Every day that I said goodbye to my wife, because I still was going to work, trying to do my best. We knew it was potentially that was it. So our goodbyes, even in the morning, before I went in the hospital, were potentially the last one. So we were already kind of living in that place. And then you get in the hospital, and they're taking care of you, and they're all kinds of medicines and machines, and you actually feel better. So it's kind of a weird, you're sick, but because they got you plugged in, you actually feel a little better. You feel healthier, even though they tell you all the time you're not getting healthier. It's just the machines are doing what they're doing, and
Yeah.
so it was, you're just waiting, anticipating, and then when I called and I said, you need to get back here, and everyone shows up. That's the moment that we had 17 years of it's going to happen someday. It's going to happen someday. That doesn't prepare you as much as you think it would. It wasn't as much of a gut punch to some people. The minute they're sick, that's when they hear this, and which it was in 2005. It was definitely a moment. So it wasn't quite that radical of a moment, but it was somber, and you're now aware this really is potentially last goodbye. And so my wife was allowed to spend the night. Everyone had to go home after visiting hours, but on that night they let your spouse stay, and so that everyone goes home. Said bye to all my kids. This could be it. They're going to come back in the morning, of course. So I got to see them one more time, but you just say goodbye. And my wife had our time, and very private, intimate moments of just making sure anything that needs to be said is said. And so you come in. It's now time. They're wheeling you down the hallway. What's interesting is I have no memory. There's a moment where everyone's falling as far as they can as my family. I can see the elevator, and we say goodbye, and all of our I love yous and all that stuff. And I have no recollection from that point forward. They didn't put me under yet. I mean, it's not like, but my mind is. They tell me a lot of stuff. They've got video I can watch as they wheel me into the elevator, but memory shut off for me at that point.
Yeah.
That's the interesting thing. My last memory is just staring at the elevator door.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people talk about they were on the table getting prepped, getting ready for anesthesia. That's their last moments. I said goodbye, and that was all I have.
Yeah.
So I woke up.
So when you wake up, do you remember what your initial thought was when you woke up?
Yeah, and it's in the book too.
Yeah, I don't want to share too much, but because it's an amazing story, but it maybe a little snippet of it.
I thought it didn't happen. So, because you go into it knowing that if for whatever reason, because they open you up and they've got you all prepped while the harvest team is getting the organ, but you're not, that last artery is just waiting to be cut, right? If at any point things fail, the heart's no longer viable, whatever, anything can go wrong, they can sew you back up, put everything back, and continue. And so you go into it with this awareness that potential happens. So when I woke up, I thought I didn't get it. I was disappointed. It's like, dang it,
So you thought it didn't work?
I thought I didn't get the heart transplant.
Wow.
That was I don't remember it to the point they tell me, but they said I was mad. And I also don't know the whole thing, got the answers on this totally, but I was under anesthesia for 40 hours. So they didn't wake me till really, it was 2 days later.
40 hours? Yeah. You were out for 40 hours through a heart transplant.
Yeah, that's not normal, but I haven't got the answers on that. So
yeah.
So there's a big time gap. They're all in different clothes than when I closed my eyes last. And I just thought, dang it, why didn't it happen? What, I was mad. And and so then they're like, no, Dad, it happened. It's you got your heart. And I look down, I still got stuff hanging all over me, leads, and I realized my chest has got this big bandage on it. Well, it
Yeah.
did, but that was my initial thing was, dang it. It didn't happen.
Yeah. Wow.
So,
And then there's of course the rush of relief
yeah.
once it does finally set in, and I'm sure that's all in the book and those details there. When tell me this, and this is just kind of out of curiosity, when they do a heart transplant, and if it's not going to work on a person, have they told you, can they just go to the next person? Do they try to go to the next person, or
So,
how does that work?
so if it won't work, then it's a non-viable organ. If they're at the point where they're sitting next to me with the heart has arrived, they don't have time to go find another potential, and most likely it's because something's wrong with the heart.
Yeah.
Now, if they call me and say we've got a heart for you, that's the phone call. If I say no, I'm not ready. If they do some final quick testing, it could change where they decide, you know what, that one wasn't right for you, even though they've made the phone call. So in the transplant community, it's a dry run is what it's called, and a lot of people have those. I didn't have any dry runs. I didn't get any. There was 3 other times where a heart became available, but they never even informed me because they immediately realized it wasn't right. I was told that after. So I didn't have any of those actual dry runs. Many people experience they're at home waiting. They rush to the hospital. They get there. They're getting prepped, and then it's like, no. And now they got to go back home. So I don't know what that experience, the emotions of that one have got to be just, immense. But so there's just not a matter of the heart's usually no good at that. But the point I was at, it's not a viable heart.
Yeah. So every day now, you're talking about bonus days, and what kind of, how did it change your perspective of daily life?
Well, very aware that every time I wake up, every single morning, it's a new 24 hours, and I approach now. I don't have time to get too bogged down in yesterday's crap because it's a new day, and I'm here again to experience it. That doesn't mean you don't have life and stuff comes at you sometimes where you're just, regular life issues. But I once I go to bed, I just basically, that's it. This one's wrap. And if I get out in the morning, all right, let's do it again.
Yeah.
Every day let's do it again. All right.
Do you have things that maybe that used to stress you out before that, after this experience, you now just, it's a totally different way of looking at things?
Yeah. They're not worth it. It's just those time stealers and energy stealers. Again, there's I'm not telling you I'm perfect. There's times when the day sucks.
Yeah.
I let those go fast, but usually I don't get anywhere near as keyed up as I used to. There's just, I'm very aware of the fragility of time. Here's the truth. We're all dying. That's a fact. None of us can escape it. But I did escape it for a minute. And so I'm aware of I don't want to say I'm on a short list, but I could have rejection at any moment. That's the life of a transplant. So there's no guarantee that I will wake up. There is no guarantee you are either. I get that. But you just kind of also have a little bit of an expiration date sort of put on you. You're just aware that I'm on borrowed time, if you will.
Yeah.
And so that does, you just don't have time to mess around.
Yeah.
I got stuff done, and you just got to, I've had a new grandbaby since then. One grandchild's been born since I translated. Everyone else was here. I would not have experienced that. So a lot of those moments where I would not have seen this. My daughter's getting married. In fact, this weekend coming up, I would not have seen that.
Wow. Congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you. So those are the things that you look forward to. I don't care about the junk, because there's a new day with new great stuff and new awarenesses and, just new experiences. And so, and I wasn't an author before transplant.
Yeah.
I was a pastor for years and I wrote lessons, but I wasn't an author. I never thought I would be an author. It wasn't wasn't on my bucket list. Now I've got 16 books. I think it is on Amazon, that's just since transplant. And so that's a new thing for me. I'm not going to tell you that's what a lot of people ask. Is that because you think your donor was an author? And I don't, I don't know how all that stuff works. I don't think that's what it is so much, but I do have things that I enjoy now that I didn't before. Ways I see life I didn't before. So it's fun.
Yeah, yeah. We're talking with Adam Greer tonight, who is the author of a book titled July 5th, The Day I Lived Twice. It's about his heart transplant that he had on July 5th, 2022. And as we said at the top of the show, April is National Donate Life Month. And there's something that I want to ask you about that, I don't really want to get too deep into it. I'm not sure what what your religion is or anything like that. You said you were a pastor, right?
Yes.
But does this type of experience, knowing that you have another human's heart inside of you, and that is what is sustaining life for you today, does it bring another perspective in faith at all for you?
I don't I don't know in faith so much. God is amazing, and the fact that we as humans even figured this out blows me away. And that's where I see God in this. It's not so much my transplant. He created us in His image, and He's a creative God. And so the part that blows me away, I guess, and from a faith perspective, is that a human, we didn't figure it out. It's a gift. This ability to somebody had to look and say, "Hey, I think that heart can go into that person. It'll work." There was a first moment for that, and that they didn't learn that in school, and so you start to see. It's caused me to see life unfold differently, where I see God in just all of creation and all of everything. There's all these things I go, wow, wow, God, just so it's brought a deeper awareness of His activity and input into our creation and who we are. So, but as far as having another human's heart, I I look in the mirror getting ready in the mornings, and of course my shirt's usually off because I'm brushing teeth and showering, and I see the scar, and it'll catch me. I just look in the mirror and I'm like, man, I got someone else's heart beating in me. That is a strange feeling. So I don't feel creepy about it. I don't feel
Hmm.
any kind of weirdness. Just oh man, there's someone else's heart thumping inside my chest, and
Yeah.
that's an amazing thing. And I have not had contact with my donor in the family yet, the donor's family. Uh, Hopefully someday, but so I don't know anything about the person other than the age of the heart was a 35 to 45-year-old. They gave me a range. I would like to know
Yeah.
35 because then
Sure.
it's a little bit younger, but
It's
um,
not like they give you a profile,
so,
or show them where their Facebook used to be or something
right,
like that,
right.
right?
So
Yeah.
but just the heaviness of the moment that dang, dang,
Yeah. Yeah. There is an awareness to life on a higher level, then, is what it sounds like to me.
yeah,
Is that this experience that you've had from 2005, from obtaining a cold, a virus that then spread into your body and into your heart, and creating the damage that it did to where you needed a new heart. And then 17 years later, you receive it on July 5th of 2022. This entire journey, now we're going on 4 years. It'll be 4 years this summer
yeah,
that you've had this four almost like a new way of starting over, I guess,
yeah,
right?
yeah. It's life 2.0 for sure.
Yeah,
I would not have had the 1,372 days. They just there was a moment where that was not going to happen,
yeah,
and
yeah,
it has, and and so I get up tomorrow 1,373, and I'll do it again, and then get up next and do it again, and just every day brings with it a whole new. It's a whole new pile of opportunities. So you either embrace everybody loves carpe diem, seize the day. It's
yeah,
great
yeah,
on shirts, but I
yeah,
understand that now.
yeah. And I'm
See,
sure, like, with, I know in your other projects, like the two books that had the humor in it too, they you you're very involved with your family. And is this a perspective that you've given them, like just a new way of looking at life, even for them?
I hope so. We already were very involved. We've always been a close family. We've always tried to experience the best in life. Um, and especially when, remember, this started in 2005. So there was a moment we faced that I wasn't going to exist. They had to face that Dad wasn't going to, the potential. So, so that, I'm sure starting then is what helped us appreciate more with each other, the value of each other, and that type of thing. So, but yeah, they're very aware. I know a lot of people now who have had transplants. I didn't know anybody who did before. And that's crazy. I just met someone last Friday that a friend of mine saw my book and, hey, I'm going to have lunch with another friend of mine, and he's a heart transplant. So can you come meet us for lunch? That was just last Friday. And it's like, how does one friend know two people now?
Yeah.
I went and met him at lunch, and this guy had his heart in 2019. He was here in Katy as well. And it's like, wow, So, but I try to look for those moments every single day. Something to blow me away every day. That's what I want.
Sure.
I hope my kids and their kids have got the same perspective. Find something that just makes you say, we've lost the awe factor in life. We don't sit around much and have awe.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm trying to make sure we all remember, is to just take a moment to be in awe.
Yeah. There's a lot of complacency in this world. There's a lot of short attention spans and complacency and the need for immediate gratification. And so this really opens up that perspective on life to really see the wonderful beauty that's in life. What would you say, just in a short term answer, what would you say to somebody who is on a list and is waiting for a transplant of some sort? What would you say to them?
It's big. And that's actually a big, I put that in the book too, because I wanted to deal with people who love us through it.
Yeah. And maybe give us the short answer, because obviously we want people to read the book.
Yeah. So first, you're okay. All the questions and stuff, and I was afraid to ask them. You have to be your biggest advocate. Ask what needs to be asked. Do what you feel needs to be done. Finish things you think you need to finish, because you're waiting, but you still have today. So don't just stall in the wait. Do the best you can. It'll keep your mind off of it while you're waiting, and then make sure your caretaker, your loved ones who are with you, that they are aware that's okay for them to say, I'm tired today and I can't deal with you, because you will become a grump. You're on a lot of meds, you're in a hospital, you're stuck to machines, and there are days when you're a brat, So there's times when your loved one, your wife, your kids would have to go, you know what, peace, I'm going home. And that's okay. And don't hold it against each other. That's the thing too. Don't get mad when they say they have to take a time out. And but just be very appreciative of the time you have and prepare. Exercise as best you can, whatever that is. If it just means get up and down from your chair a couple times, stay in the best shape you can stay in. It'll help your recovery go smoother as well.
Yeah.
Whatever that best shape is, you just walk,
and don't wait for tomorrow. Like you were saying, start today. If you're wanting to do something, don't put it off. And I think that applies in general to everybody in life, right?
Yeah.
You never know when that last day is going to be there.
You don't.
Somebody could be perfectly healthy and something goes bad the very next day.
I hear about that all the time, right?
Yeah, you just never know when the time is up. Yeah. So the book, once again, is called July 5th, The Day I Lived Twice. It's by Adam Greer, who's with us tonight, who started in New York, who's been all the way traveled to Texas and Houston, and he's an entrepreneur here in Houston. He has several books that he's written. This book is available. People can go on Amazon and purchase this book.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And so we want everybody to take a look at it. And again, it's National Donate Life Month here in April. So we want to bring awareness to that. And anything we can do to help you, Adam, to bring more awareness to that through some of your efforts that you have ongoing, we'd love to further that here on Houston CityBeat.
Well, this is a big step in that. I've been trying to spread the word this whole month any way I can. So any of you listeners, if you have contacts, people that want to have this book in their home, their library, their classroom, whatever, anybody that can help me spread the word, I want to do it any way I can.
Yeah. Now we have our Houston CityBeat Community Connectors meeting, which is going to be next Thursday, not this Thursday, and you'll be there. Is that correct?
Yes, I'll be there.
And are you going to bring some copies of the book that you'll be
I don't
selling?
know, maybe. No.
Yeah, you should. And
No,
if anybody would love to meet Adam in person, come on out. Our Houston CityBeat Community Connectors meeting, which starts at 5:15 at the Met Athletic Club in downtown Houston at 340 West Dallas. And Adam will be there along with his lovely wife, and you meet them. They're a joy to know in person, and I'm sure that there are a lot of people out there who would love to purchase your book and meet you in person. So we encourage anybody who would like to meet Adam to come out that Thursday. I believe it's April 16th. April 16th at 5:15. It runs from, again, at the Met Athletic Club in downtown Houston, the Houston CityBeat Community Connectors Mixer and Business meeting that we have.
It's a great time. It's a great time. I know the time slot, it's worth it. It'll go fast.
It goes fast. Yeah, it goes fast. So get out there. Otherwise, get out there on Amazon. Take a look. I think the listing is under Wayne Adam Greer. Is that correct?
W. Adam Greer.
W. Adam Greer. And again, there's the book right there, and you'll see the whole plethora of books that he has in his library that he's written. And go out there and take a look at everything that he has done. Adam Greer, thank you so much for joining us tonight on Houston CityBeat Live. It's been a great pleasure to hear this story and to get that out there to everybody.
It's been an absolute pleasure for me. Thank you for having me.
You bet. So for Lisbeth Newton, who's our producer here tonight of Houston CityBeat Live, and Adam Greer, I'm Mike Acosta. Once again, thank you for joining us tonight. And until next time, so long, everybody.